I just found out my manager presented my project to the executive team, my research, my framework, my 3 weeks of late nights, and she presented it as the team's work, with her name on the cover slide.
Did she change anything?
She reformatted 2 charts. That's it. Everything else was mine, word for word.
And how did the executives respond?
They loved it. She got pulled into a strategy meeting afterward. There's talk of her getting a bigger role. Meanwhile, I'm sitting at my desk wondering if anyone even knows I exist.
How does that make you feel?
How do you think? Furious, betrayed, like I got robbed in broad daylight and nobody saw it.
What if I told you she did exactly what effective people have always done?
Then I'd say effective people are thieves.
Maybe. But before you write her off, think about what actually happened. You did the work, she delivered the result. Those are 2 different skills. And in the eyes of the people who make decisions, the person who delivers the result is the person who owns it.
That's not fair.
It's not, but let me ask you something. When she presented it, did she present it well?
Yeah, annoyingly well. She framed it in a way that connected to the CEO's priorities. She cut out 2 charts I loved, but that probably would have confused the room. She told a story around it that made the whole thing feel urgent.
So she took raw material and turned it into influence. She knew which room it needed to be in, how it needed to be framed, and who needed to hear what. You built the engine, she drove it somewhere.
You're defending her.
I'm describing what happened, and I'm asking you to see the part you're not seeing because you're angry. You created something valuable, but you didn't deliver it to the place where value gets recognized. She did. And the uncomfortable truth is, the world doesn't reward the person who does the work. It rewards the person who makes the work matter.
I can't accept that. If that's how things work, then what's the point of being the one who actually builds things?
There's a huge point, because without you, there's nothing to present, nothing to frame, nothing to deliver. But the builder who stays in the workshop and never walks the finished product into the right room, that builder stays invisible, and someone else will always be willing to carry it for them. The question isn't whether that's right or wrong. The question is, what are you going to do about it?
Confront her?
And say what? Give me credit? That conversation goes one of 2 ways. She apologizes and nothing changes, or she gets defensive and now you've got a strained relationship with the person who controls your visibility. Either way, you're still the person asking for recognition instead of claiming it.
So I just let it go?
No, you learn from it. She showed you exactly how the game works, and instead of being angry at the player, maybe study the play.
That feels gross.
It feels gross because you've been taught that taking credit for other people's contributions is wrong. And in a moral sense, maybe it is. But there's a version of this that isn't theft, it's leverage. And the people who accomplish the most in any field, in any century, they understood that no one succeeds alone. And the person who coordinates, synthesizes, and positions the work is doing something just as essential as the person who produces it.
Give me an example, because right now this just sounds like a justification for lazy people to exploit hard workers.
Thomas Edison.
The light bulb guy.
That's exactly my point. You called him the light bulb guy. Edison didn't invent the light bulb alone. He had a laboratory full of engineers, chemists, and machinists in Menlo Park. Dozens of people running experiments, testing filaments, solving problems that Edison himself couldn't solve. A man named William Sawyer had been working on incandescent lighting before Edison even started. Lewis Latimer, a black engineer, later developed the carbon filament that made the bulb commercially viable. Francis Upton did the complex mathematics Edison couldn't do himself.
So Edison was a fraud?
Edison was a genius, but not in the way most people think. His genius wasn't in the laboratory, it was in the architecture of achievement. He built a system where brilliant people did breakthrough work, and he made sure that work found its way into the world under a unified brand, his name. He filed the patents, he held the press conferences, he told the story. And because he controlled the narrative, history remembers Edison, not Upton, not Latimer, not the dozens of unnamed technicians who made the actual breakthroughs possible.
And you think that's admirable?
I think it's effective. Whether it's admirable depends on how you do it. Edison gave his team resources, direction, and a platform they wouldn't have had alone. Most of them knew the deal. They got salaries, access to the best equipment in the world, and the chance to work on problems that mattered. What they didn't get was fame. And for some of them, that trade was worth it. For others, it wasn't. But the machine kept running because Edison understood something fundamental. The person who assembles the pieces and presents the picture gets treated as the artist.
even if they didn't paint a single stroke?
Even then. And you can rage against that, or you can recognize it's the operating system of every organization, every government, every institution that's ever existed. Presidents don't write their own speeches. CEOs don't build their own products. Film directors don't operate the cameras or write every line of dialogue, but they take the credit and the blame because they're the ones who orchestrated the outcome.
There's a difference, though, between a director who leads a team and a manager who steals someone's PowerPoint.
There is, and that's where the nuance lives. The director adds vision, decision-making, coordination, real value on top of other people's contributions. Your manager added framing, positioning, and access to a room you didn't have. Was that enough to justify the credit she took? Maybe not, but she added something. The question is whether what she added was proportional to what she claimed.
It wasn't, not even close.
Probably not. And here's where this gets practical for you. You now have information. You know how she operates. You know she's good at delivering other people's work to the right audience. So next time you have a choice. You can either cut her out and try to deliver it yourself, which means learning her skills, or you can get ahead of it. You can make sure your name is already in the room before she walks in. You can present to intermediate stakeholders first. You can send a preview to the CEO's assistant with your name attached. You can make it known, quietly and professionally, that this work has a source.
That feels political.
It is political. Work is political. And the people who pretend it isn't are the ones sitting at their desks wondering why someone else is in the strategy meeting.
Okay, but let me flip this around. You're talking about the person who takes credit. What about the person who's in the position to use other people's work? How does someone do that without being a parasite?
By being honest with the exchange. The best leaders, the ones people follow willingly, they use other people's strengths openly. They build teams around their own weaknesses. They say, I need someone who can do what I can't. And when the work is done, they carry it forward. But they also create an environment where the people doing the work feel seen, even if the outside world doesn't know their names. There's a private credit and a public credit. The best operators make sure the private credit is generous, even when the public credit is concentrated.
So inside the room, you acknowledge everyone. Outside the room, the result has your name on it.
That's how every functional organization works. The CEO presents the quarterly results. The investors credit the CEO, but inside the company, the people who built those results know their contribution. And if they don't, if the leader takes public and private credit, that's when it becomes exploitation. That's when people leave. That's when trust collapses.
I've worked for people like that, where you never got a word of acknowledgement, not publicly, not privately. You were just a machine that produced output for someone else's career.
And how long did you stay?
Not long.
Because exploitation has a shelf life. The people who treat others purely as instruments eventually run out of instruments. Talented people leave, knowledge walks out the door, and the person at the top is left with a name but no engine. Edison kept his team for years because, whatever his flaws, the environment he created was magnetic. The work was exciting, the resources were unmatched. The trade, anonymity for access, felt worthwhile to most of them. The moment that trade feels one-sided is the moment the system breaks.
So there's a sustainable version of this and an unsustainable version.
Exactly. The sustainable version is, I will leverage the talents around me, give those people meaningful work and real recognition within our circle, and present the unified result to the world. The unsustainable version is, I will drain everyone around me, pretend I did it alone, and discard people when they've served their purpose.
And my manager, which one is she?
Only you can answer that. Has she ever acknowledged your work privately? Has she ever opened a door for you, recommended you, given you a project that stretched you?
She actually has. She put me on this project in the first place because she told her boss I was the right person for it. And she approved the budget I asked for without pushback. I'd forgotten about that.
So she invested in you, gave you the platform, and then delivered the result in a way that benefited her. That's not theft. That's a transaction you didn't realize you were in.
But I didn't agree to the terms.
Did you ever discuss the terms? Did you ever say, I'd like to present this myself, or I'd like to be in the room when this goes to leadership?
No, I just assumed she'd, I don't know, do the right thing.
And do the right thing meant different things to each of you. To you, it meant shared credit. To her, it meant delivering the best outcome to the executives in the most effective way she could. Neither of you was wrong. You just weren't having the same conversation.
I hate how much sense that makes.
The lesson isn't that she's a villain. The lesson is that if you don't define the terms of your own contribution, someone else will define them for you. And they'll define them in a way that serves their interests. Not out of malice, out of human nature.
So what do I do next time?
You build the work. That's your strength. But before it leaves your hands, you make sure your fingerprints are visible, not hidden in the metadata, but woven into the narrative. You present early drafts to stakeholders yourself. You build relationships with the people in those rooms so your name is already familiar. And when the final product goes up the chain, you've already established ownership, not aggressively, structurally, so that when someone presents it, the room already knows where it came from.
And if I'm ever in her position, if I'm the one presenting someone else's work,
Then you make sure the person who built it knows they're valued. You mention them in the room, you bring them along when appropriate. You make the private credit so generous that the public credit feels like a shared victory, not a theft.
I think I've been looking at this all wrong. I was angry at her for playing a game I didn't even know was happening. But the game was always happening. I just had my head down, thinking the scoreboard would update itself.
Scoreboards never update themselves.
Next time, I'm not handing anyone a finished product from the shadows. I'm walking it into the room myself. And if I can't get into the room, I'll make sure everyone in it already knows my name before the door opens.